Welcome to episode 47 of the Tim and John Show podcast. We just had a great show. We talked about the metaverse, all things related to Facebook's new scheme to basically create like an avatar like scenario where you're just going to be stuck into the matrix. Talked about different wealth confiscation schemes that got going on and in terms of like different billionaire type taxes that are going on. Talked about a lot of the 2022 tax proposals that are more likely going to pass to basically take more of your money on a on a yearly basis, and then also got into Let's Go Brandon, how that song is literally, I think, is, and on the hip hop stations it's 1 through 5 top hip hop songs in the country are all Let's Go Brandon, and 4 out of the top 10 songs in the country are Let's Go Brandon remixes. And so that we get into a lot of stuff. I think we've got a great episode for you guys, and you're really gonna love this one.
Oh yeah. We also talked about Omarova and Fauci and a couple other good things. And inflation is not so transitory anymore.
And make sure that you guys like, subscribe, go to timandjohnshow.com and all the different enemy platforms we are on. We would prefer Odyssey, Flow, the other ones. But anyways, hope you guys enjoy this episode. And without further ado, here we go. Don't nobody like his ass, huh? Tried to cover up and tell the people go Brandon, but we know what they saying though. You can hear the chant in every post. Don't nobody want this commie cause we not in China. Everybody hated Trump and now they... CEO Mark Zuckerberg introduced what he calls the metaverse, a platform where users will interact in virtual and augmented realities. He also said Facebook would change its name. Take a listen.
To reflect who we are and what we hope to build, I am proud to announce that starting today, our company is now Meta. After watching that, I should have named it like Beta.
Beta
mission remains the same. It's still about bringing people together.
Yeah.
Our apps and their brands, they're not changing either. And we are still the company that designs technology around people. But now we have a new North Star to help bring the metaverse to life. And we have a new name that reflects the full breadth of what we do and the future that we want to help build.
That announcement comes as Facebook or...
Yes. Yeah. So Tim, we all gonna live in the metaverse, own nothing, and live in little huts with our little gear on and be happy. How about that?
Well, we'll have nice, cool avatars, so it'll make up for owning nothing. We'll own a digital avatar. And it's not to say like this technology can't be used for good, like the being able to go to be in a meeting across the world with somebody and interact like you're right there. But the problem is they want to basically simulate everyone into this. And before we get into any the conspiracy theories of what's going on behind me, I do have a pretty cool little painting by Amir One. So it's not like the Illuminati eye that's behind me, but you've got essentially like these slaves that are holding up a Monopoly board, and you got Soros and like Rothschild with bankers and the all-seeing eye in there. So just wanted to get that out of the way before we've got people commenting on BitChute about how I'm really part of the Illuminati or something like that.
Yeah.
Except they didn't send me a I'm just doing this from my laptop right now, so I don't have my normal mic set up in case the audio doesn't sound as good. But when it comes to this whole metaverse, I was on Facebook in 2004, like at the very, very beginning. Daily user, was basically addicted to it, and so I can only imagine that once they try to get everyone onto this, and I don't know if they're going to be successful, and I think it's going to like basically have this movement get started, or like a counter revolution to this, where maybe it might just make people be more inclined to actually see each other in person and go outdoors, and I think we should really kind of basically culture jam this to do the exact opposite of what they're trying to make us do, which is basically be all these like basically entering into the matrix. And so for those of you who haven't seen it, there's about 11-12 minute video with Mark Zuckerberg, who is basically explaining that they're changing the name of Facebook to Meta, and Meta is going to be this virtual world that everyone's going to live in, and you're going to have like virtual avatars, you're going to have your workplace meetings are going to occur in the metaverse. And if it wasn't for something, I'd be on board with something like this if it was decentralized. So we've got like Decentraland, that's popping big right now. So I'm not sure if you can go to the chart on that, but I think last time I saw it was up like 47% today. So
yeah, let me pull it up here, Tim. I'll pull it up on the screen. Just give me a sec here.
Yeah, it looks like it's up over 50% today. It's $1.26, up 43 cents. I mean, it's moving fast. I mean, then now it's only up 40%. Like it's refreshing here and changing. But that would be sort of like the private version of, or I'd say the private version, like the more decentralized blockchain version of what they're trying to do. Yeah, huge spike. And
Yeah.
I would love to get on like an expert on Decentraland, and obviously our friend Steve Wand would be probably like the best guest in the world to possibly have on for that. So we'll try to get Steve on sometime. And so I don't know if like what Decentraland is doing is competition to Meta or somehow is complementary. But just like how you could have like like a Siri or one of these devices that are listening in on you all the time. Like, it'd be great if we could have our own that doesn't do this and maybe is built through the blockchain, or your own like private basically virtual assistant. But what they're trying to do with Meta is essentially very, very scary. As everything else that's going on, it just shows like that they're trying to hit us from 7 ways to Sunday. They're hitting us with, I mean, even Facebook is, I mean, so they've got their own digital currency that they're going to roll out, and we've got the Fed coin that's going to be rolled out. So that's one aspect of control. Then you've got
vaccine passports that we have here.
Well, you won't
already.
need to leave anywhere because you'll just be in the metaverse. And so like their goal is by 2045. I mean, you can go to 2045project.org, and basically they're saying that they want to have it be like Avatar by the year 2045. And so for those of us who are left, who maybe didn't get the jab, they want to have us basically, kind of like floating around in this, a simulation of, whatever, to then also then merge us in with machines to then basically keep us alive forever. And a lot of people are going to be upset that they're, and I think that's a trick, from a more like spirituality standpoint. I mean, you're not supposed to be on Earth forever. And so, it's sort of like you could then create your own like living hell by being here forever and watching everyone else die and, being trapped into this world. And so, not that I'm suicidal or anything, no, but
well, yeah, and I'm, there's just several movies that I've seen. I saw one movie, I totally forgot what the name was of the movie, but it was actually like this, like there was a guy, like people living in this like totally rundown places. The only thing that they had was their, their VR gear that they that they kept on, and that was the world. Like there was nothing, like nobody saw each other or nothing. So that's exactly what Meta could be. And then another good movie to watch if you want to see like similar kind of trend is Pods, I believe it's called, and the head guy there is Bruce Willis. He plays a cop actually, and then he starts to investigate everything and finds out that there's some serious stuff going on. But anyway, so they live in a pod. So you go into this pod basically and lay there, and then you like have your avatar that's out in the real world doing stuff, and yeah, that's how it works. Like the Avatar movie, right? Like that was also like the Disney movie, or was it Disney? I forgot. But anyways, it's these type of movies are kind of like out there pushing this agenda of like, yeah, like you don't need the real world. But when you looked at the Pods movie, I remember a big thing there is like they look so sick and unhealthy and almost dying. Him and his wife, I think, and then him and his wife doesn't have a life anymore. There's no sex life, nothing, that they have anymore because they're all in this like Pods universe or whatever you can call it. And so, is that what we want? Like, do we all live in a world where we can't see each other? Like right now, I'm like half in a world. Like I could still see people. There's still people around there that I could physically go and visit that believes in stuff that I do. But there's a lot less, and I'm not able to travel and see Tim and Ernie and a whole bunch of other good friends down in the United States. So it's getting frustrating with that. And then it's like magically during a lockdown where everybody's separated from each other, here comes Facebook and announces Meta, the metaverse. It will be
I did find, and it's hard because I'm operating just on one computer screen today, and even though I do have like this other sweet portable one that I forgot to bring with me, but here is it's actually 2045.com, and they're saying that by basically 2020 they want to have a robotic copy of a human body remotely controlled via BCI. BCI, I mean, what that like brain controller interface? I think maybe that's what that stands for.
I think so.
2020 to 2025, they want to have an avatar in which a human brain is transplanted at the end of one's life. By 2030, somewhere between 20 and 30.
So you'll basically be like the Matrix movie where like it's not going to be the body anymore probably, but just the brain. They
Matrix
have it
is
in a little thing.
Well, you're skipping ahead, Mr. Snyder, because as we see it, Avatar C is an avatar with an artificial brain in which a human personality is transferred at the end of one's life. And these are billionaires who are funding this. These are not some like little known limp dicks. These are guys like Kurzweil is part of this, and some of the richest people in the world are actively working on this. I mean, even like Elon Musk is, to some extent working on this when it comes to Neuralink. But then their final phase, Avatar D, 2040 to 2045, is a hologram-like avatar. And so it's basically like the movie Avatar mixed with Matrix. And so you'll be and have some sort of, AI microchips in you to then keep you, supposedly alive
and you'll
forever.
be wandering around the world as an hologram avatar. Is that like kind of their thought
But
around
you'll
that?
But you'll probably be wandering around a visual. You'll more than likely be wandering around. And so, I mean, it's just brazen, like how they have all this stuff. Like
so who's gonna mine all the stuff, and who's gonna get everything out of the ground to keep this going? Because you need to replace parts of computers and all this stuff. Like, what's your plan, guys?
I mean, basically, the best job to have would be the guy that fixes the robots that fix the robots, because that's pretty much where things are going.
That's kind of my realm, is like being in automation,
on rough seas,
telecom, and all that. But yeah, so I guess my job security is a lot safer.
Yeah, and this whole site, is talking about, Google quantum computing breakthroughs and, walking robots right now. And
there's a bunch of them coming out that are very good. Like the Boston Dynamics is way ahead of the game. Then you got in Japan, I forgot the company's name, but they have like an insane amount of robots. I was just looking at it the other day, just a couple of little documentaries and stuff about certain companies and so on, and they're so far ahead now. Like they have AI learning robots that have even a physical human face that could work and interact with you. And of course they got worker robots. Like look at the dog, Boston Dynamics dog. Like that one is massive now with all the implementations that it has been able to do. Anything from working in surveillance, of humans. Like it was deployed in Singapore and even in Canada here. I think it was deployed a place like just to watch everybody and keep track of the I forgot to keep track of the homeless people, people that are not so easily controllable by the state. So they use that dog to actually facially recognize them and then take tell them to come in and all this stuff. And it was all socially distanced. And but this whole like push forward for especially for the transhumanism agenda is like they want to be machine. And I actually, let me tell you the story. I was trying to create this blockchain conference here, and the guy that I created it with, he's a hardcore transhumanist, by the way, which is very interesting that I did that, and of course that failed. Yeah.
Was there any like software transhumanist?
No, he wanted like he couldn't wait to look forward to the day that we're all in in just a big what do you call it, like Matrix kind of thing, where our bodies are not here any longer, but we are still alive. Like he was looking forward to that. So yeah, there is people like that everywhere, and him especially. Like I guess because his wife was sick like all the time, like she had like severe autoimmune problems. I think that's kind of why, there's always like a thing with like Kurzweil and others as well. Like Kurzweil wants his dad back, had a real like loss with his dad. A lot of that comes from a severe loss, in your family and somebody that you loved, it seems like, with a lot of these guys, like when you really go and look at the psychological level. So I think like they just, want that person back in their life. Like I lost my dad, I would love to have him back, but you can't. It's how the world is. But they have a lot of money, so they are going to try to do it.
I mean, and a lot of the people that have these health issues, like from the onset when they're born, I mean, some of that, was probably done because of getting certain types of jabs in them, from the other shots that are supposedly, approved. We're not talking about the CV-19 one, but just the generic ones. I mean, there's all sorts of problems and reactions people have, from those ones that go on to affect them for the rest of their life. But ultimately, that is the master plan, is to basically end your soul, like take over your soul by merging you with a machine, and then getting it to the point where, and that's part of the reason why they want to limit the Earth's population, because there's going to be a lot of people who obviously are not going to be able to afford this, even if they wanted to do it, and B, most people are probably not going to want to do this, even if they could afford to do it, because people will see that you are essentially ending humanity. And and what they're doing, and like that's why there's that whole push for the LGBT, T and LGBTQ, is because it's not about transgenders, it's about transhumanisms, and that's why they're trying to it's always about shifting the goalposts, shifting what they want to do. And I guess if you want to shift into another topic, and this is a very big a very big topic that we're talking about right now, we could I'm sure do an entire show just on this, but it has come out that the paper that was written by, let me try to find this real quick, because I'm again operating off one computer screen here, but Biden's nominee Amarova has published a plan to move all bank deposits to the Fed and let the New York Fed short stocks. And so just reading like some of the excerpts from this is, and this is the proposal, this is the person that they want to run the comptroller of the currency, also known as the OCC. It's funny because like the local community college where I'm from is called OCC, and so now now this is one is called that as well. But they want to move. She specifically wants to move all commercial bank deposits from commercial banks to so-called Fed accounts at the Federal Reserve.
So everybody has a Federal Reserve account.
Yeah, and so you're going to have instead of having a bank account, you're going to have a Fed account, and then
you're going to be like the bank, basically, like what the bank is today.
Number two, allowing the Fed in extreme and rare circumstances. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be extreme and rare, when the Fed is unable to control inflation by raising rates, to confiscate deposits from these Fed accounts in order to tighten monetary policy. So they want to steal your money. I mean, that is basically.
Well, it makes it so easy. Like everything is digital, right? Like you could just confiscate at will. If Tim and John, doesn't follow what they want us to say, it's just easy to eliminate them. Like click delete. You'll be gone out of society.
Yeah, number three, allowing the most Wall Street conflicted regional bank in the country, the New York Fed, when there is rise in market value at rates suggestive of a bubble trend, such as with technology stocks today, to short these securities, thereby putting downward pressure on their prices. So now the Fed is basically secretly buying stocks now anyways, and now they want the New York Fed to start being able to short certain stocks. So then, it just came out like all the insider information and trading that was going on already, which to me is actually just a diversionary tactic, instead of talking about how bad the fact that there even is a Fed. Instead of having that be the issue, it's look at that, they were insider trading. Well, of course they were insider trading.
Yeah, it's perfect, right? Like it's.
Yeah, number four, and I actually do somewhat agree with this, and this could be controversial, but I'll explain my standpoint on this. Eliminate the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation that insures bank deposits, and I'll actually say I do agree with this, because basically right now the FDIC is like you and me trying to backstop Bill Gates and Elon Musk, because there's such little FDIC insured
funds.
It basically funds there to in quotes protect a bailout, that there's no way that they would, in a true crisis, that they'd be able to do anything. So it's
and exactly. And let me tell you what I had a little run-in with the CDIC here in Canada, because they've been running so many ads. Yeah, and I looked at their balance sheet. They got 0.0007% of all the deposits under 100,000 in their fund. And then, so hilariously enough, I posted this on LinkedIn, and you can actually see it. Like I should pull it up one day. I should have probably had it available, but I didn't think far enough to pull it up. But one day we'll have it up there. But they actually replied to me. And they, because I asked them, but why are you guys on TV all the time? It's like, it's to create, the sense of belief that we're actually here to protect everybody, and that your money is safe. It's all about belief, basically, what they told me. And then they never actually discredited my 0.0007% claim. That in my how like it's so good because people believe in it more, if you have, the actual propaganda out there, basically. And yeah, didn't say nothing about the 0.0007% that they actually had versus the actual insured money. So isn't that funny? Like, that's really interesting, isn't it, Tim?
Yeah, and I think the system would actually be a lot safer if there was no FDIC, and that basically you'd have there would then be private insurance that would then step into the mix, because and then people would do their due diligence on banks, because right now, I mean, there's really no reason to do any due diligence. So if one bank was going to pay you 0.1% and one bank's going to pay you 0.12%, then you're probably going to go to the bank that pays you 0.12%, just because there's really no opportunity cost, because if you lose your money, that you're just going to be able to get it back to the FDIC. So it creates these moral hazards, and personally I think it'd be much better.
And they tried to do with the deposit insurance back in the 80s, that they had the deposit insurance. You remember, Tim?
No, because I was born in the 80s, so I wasn't. I wasn't
No, neither of us really remember that, because little toddlers running around. But I do believe that that's what they created, like the deposit insurance that they had back, and that actually blew up massively as well, because any insurance scheme has a certain amount of leeway in it, that could go wrong. And if there's too many people dying, an insurance provider could be in trouble, right? Being able to pay out, because they don't have all the money, that they actually promised.
They're just going to have the Fed come in and print all the money, and then that's so what's going to happen is eventually that's going to come home to roost, and then they're going to have the Fed print like $5 trillion to save everybody. It's going to be a massive inflationary event. And then, maybe that's what kicks off the hyperinflation, or maybe, I mean, I don't know what's going to eventually kick it off, but it seems like, right now, even at like their admitted like 5.5% amount, that they're really doing nothing to stem that. I mean, everything they're doing is like, oh, how do we, put our, pedal to the metal even further to then further get ourselves in the hole. But, going back to the FDIC, you could have a private insurance, or you'd have banks that would then take a certain percentage and actually
or have
put
gold
or
silver or crypto.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, I'm not, advocating people are, keeping, excess money in bank accounts, other than, what they need to pay their bills and sort of get by. But, it's, if there was actual due diligence on banks, where it's like, oh, this bank has been, screwing people for years and has been, absolutely.
Look at their balance sheets, right? Like, what are they holding?
And no one's going through and, looking at their bank's balance sheets and trying to figure out what's going on. And so, so in addition to them, openly wanting to steal your money through this proposal, they're also saying that they're not going to have any insurance. Which I think that if you have the private sector come in, because some of these banks would say, hey, listen, you can get 2% here, but it's going to be not insured, or you can get 0.1%, and it's going to have insurance. Some people would choose to get paid 0.1 versus 2.
Well, or Tim, the old savings and loan banks versus banks separate. Now they're both merged together as well. Like, why not just go back to older ways? Like, if you want to have banks, like, it'd be probably a lot more safer than today, because like, look at what happened with Cyprus, the quaffle there, where the deposit insurance in Cyprus didn't cover anything. Well, it covered some apparently, but it had 6.9% was lost among the people that had under 100,000 euros. And then, of course, like, you have insurance schemes like the FCS, the financial claim scheme in Australia. Like, they only cover 20 billion per bank, that scheme, and they have like over 800 billion in deposits. Most of the top banks, like NC, Commonwealth Bank, ANC, and then this is one more, but NAB. Yeah, I kind of remember. I've been looking at these guys' balance sheet, but not in quite the detail that we're talking about what they actually hold. But I've looked at, versus cash. Most of these banks didn't have any cash at all.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine like a more corrupt system that we have now, but like this lady has somehow managed to like even be able to do that too. So number 5 is consolidate all bank regulatory functions at the OCC, which Amarova has been nominated to head. It makes me think of like I don't really watch TV, but from it makes me think like Omarosa from when Trump's whatever frickin' show was called, when they were The Apprentice. Is that what it's called? Like when he was like, "Oh, you're fired." And so I think
Yeah,
one of those
Apprentice.
famous people from that was Omarosa. So her name's Omarova. So it reminds me of that. But you probably can't criticize her because she's Asian. So they're going to say this is like Asian hate or something. But this article does go on, and it actually says that there was this lady who was secretly taping 46 hours of audio from the New York Fed, and I never even heard about that. And this is from 2014. So if any of our listeners have a spare 46 hours and want to go report back on that, it's I'm sure there's
Yeah.
going to be something. And then she was basically, and it sounded like the gist of what she was doing was trying to out some things that Goldman Sachs were doing, and the New York Fed was like, listen, you're not going to be releasing this information on what Goldman Sachs is allegedly doing. And then so she got canned, and basically the regulator wasn't allowed to regulate because essentially the New York Fed runs the country, runs the Fed, and the head of the New York Fed gets paid more than the president, like president of the United States, Brandon. So that that's what's going on. And this article then it keeps going. I mean, I don't want to read all this, but it talks about like all of her paragraphs about how the Fed would directly insert itself into the stock market. I mean, that's the last thing we need is the Fed to legally be able to do this. I mean, they're probably already doing it right now anyways. But then it's just amazing like how the powers that be are then completely clueless in terms of what's going on. Now a lot of this I think is done by design, and it's not like they're just dumb or they're idiots. And but we're at the point now where you're even getting Jack Dorsey coming out and warning about hyperinflation. And I love how this article couches it where it has some professor, and I think he's at Johns Hopkins, and he's like, hyperinflations are rare birds. By my count, there have only been 62 episodes of hyperinflation in world history, and none have occurred.
You idiot! Like
bullshit. None of it
books. There's thousands, buddy.
But he's a professor at Johns Hopkins, which was also the host of Event 201. So I'm sure they wouldn't be. And how are these guys so dumb? And they say it's never happened in the United States, but what about when it happened in 1913 when we got onto the system to begin with, or when we basically defaulted
1776 they had hyperinflation. The greenback was hyperinflation. And you know what they did at the time? George Washington called people traitors that wouldn't use the failing currency. Dude, so yeah, that's so much for the creation of the the US empire back in the day too.
Yeah, somewhere it goes on to say where it has like Janet Yellen being like, oh, words and definitions are very important, and the word hyperinflation comes with a very precise definition. The highest U.S. inflation rate of the past century came in the period just after World War II, when inflation jumped to nearly 20% in 1947 amid post-war shortages. And somewhere on here.
Well, so Tim, let me ask this question. So they just had an article in Main Street. I wouldn't believe it. My mom said like, well, just listen to the radio. They said that food prices in Norway could go up with 40 to 70%. It's like, what? I was like, holy smokes. And then of course I go and look at it. It's like 12 mainstream media articles on this and saying that the costs for the grocers have gone up 70%. And they're looking at like at least like right now there's like 30-40% on some products. Okay, so that is a massive shock, and what that could create is it could create a massive afraidness of like, oh, is this going to go higher? And everybody's starting to hoard, and then suddenly you get velocity coming in. Everybody's throwing their the kitchen sink of money at food, and then you get a very similar type of hyperinflation potentially like the Weimar Republic. Where everybody was saving up money, and it was like it was terrible times, and everybody was saving up money, and then suddenly it just like gets flushed into the system, and then everybody panics because suddenly the prices are going up so rapidly that everybody wants to get rid of the currency as soon as they get it into their account, right? So that is, I think, a potential that could happen here, right? And it's just human psychology.
Yeah, economists saying that these notions of hyperinflation are absolutely ridiculous and totally ridiculous. And they've got Kathy Wood saying that she actually fears deflation, and we're about to enter a period of massive deflation because of tech innovation.
There will never be deflation. Just go and read the 2002 speech of Ben Bernanke. He said like the printing presses will always beat deflationary pressure. So that's from the So he said that they're gonna buy whatever they can. Like, remember when I said the Fed will own everything and then nothing? It seems to become a lot more true. Actually, now my last time I did my central bank report on balance sheets, the actual balance sheet size, Tim, are now at 63.36% of GDP. In 2008, before the financial crisis, it was 16 or 13%. So that is how drastically they've been going in and like having to buy up all these assets. That's the deflation, right? Like that's the deflation that has been happening, but they're not willing to let it happen, because if you get deflation, everybody will go bankrupt. The country's everything. Like, yo, yeah, we're gonna have deflation. No, it won't happen.
Well,
they will try to play it
crux of the whole problem, and I mean,
Yeah.
it's not really a problem, you know, if you're the bankers, because they designed the system, is you're always going to have more debt than you have money, because the debt is money. And so let's say, you know, I've given this example a million times, but if, you know, we're the only guys on an island, and you know, we're the Lonely Island Boys, I don't know, but we're the only people over here on an island, and all of a sudden, you know, you want to borrow $100 from me, and I'm the banker, and this is the only $100 that exists, and you want to borrow $100, so boom, give you $100, say, hey, you owe me 3% interest, you got to pay it back next year. Next year you owe me $103. Well, how do you pay me back $103
You gotta borrow
if
more.
you created 100? So you always have more debt than you have money. And so if it deflates and you take all the money to pay down the debt, all you have left
Or
is
you can
debt.
call it more. I would call it more interest. Like you always have more interest than money, because money is debt, right?
Well, if you call it, I mean, whether you want to, you know, rank between like what currency is versus money, but you know what people, which are not synonymous terms, but you know, anyways, you're going to have a point where, you know, the currency, you're going to have, you know, more debt than you're going to have, you know, currency outstanding, which basically makes us high-tech slaves, which is, you know, very apropos for the, you know, painting that is behind me. But the thing is, like, that system, it cannot actually deflate, because the whole thing will come crashing down, and then they'd have to then print a bunch of money to then cause a hyperinflation, or they prevent the deflation from happening and just go into a hyperinflation. So either way, it's going to happen. I mean, it's already happening, you know, relative to Bitcoin, you know, already happening. I mean, what were they saying? Like 50%? I forgot what their exact definition of hyperinflation, but even if it's, you know, doesn't meet the exact definition, and it's only, I'll use that air quotes, you know, 50% a year versus, you know, 20 or 30% a month. I mean, the average, I mean, what, half of Americans live on less than $34,000 a year household income. So, I mean, it doesn't take, you know, too many years of 50% inflations to all of a sudden, you know, let's see, you know, you get, you know, 3 or 4 years of that, and now your purchasing power is like what, $8,000 a year. You know, okay, sorry, it's not hyperinflation, but guess what? Everyone's screwed.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be a slave, and then they're going to control you. You know, put you into the metaverse, and you know, if you didn't already, you know, die from the shots that you were given.
Yeah, and if everybody think that, oh, this is just a local phenomena, like this is the whole world. Like numbers were like way lower; they were close to zero, right? Like you have some of the biggest countries, you know, up here. Like, and these are just official numbers. These are, you know, we could rip apart the CPI numbers. They're just crap. You just need to go to the grocery store or go. Like I purchase a lot of parts for alarms and CCTV, and even that stuff is up. Like, and it jumps. Like suddenly it just jumps up, and I, you know, prices that I had just a month ago is suddenly up again. And so we're seeing a lot of things in the real economy that these economists are not working in, that is giving us a really different perspective than these, you know, economists high up in their ivory towers living in these little communities, you know, where they don't really understand or see anything. Like Venezuela, you know, Tim, I actually ordered the last piece now of the second hyperinflation in Venezuela in 4 years. It's called the Soberano, and it's actually even higher than the last one, the Fuerte. Like this hyperinflation is now actually, I got exclusive 5 million Bolivar Soberanos now that I've managed to order. Like they're very rare to come by because there's not printed too many of them yet, but who knows? Like, and then it looks like they actually reset their currency again. So they're on the third currency now in 4.5, 5 years. And for people that believe that, oh, that would never happen here, well, look at Venezuela in the 60s. They were one of the wealthiest nations in the world. They have the biggest oil reserves. Argentina, another one of the most wealthiest countries in the world. Norway was has been one of the most wealthiest countries in the world. I think it's going away.
I mean, the saying used to be rich as in Argentina, and I think at one point their purchasing power was like even like rivaling like almost America at some point.
Oh yeah.
Before I was born.
No,
but,
but they also like had like I think 8 or 9 deflationary, no, not deflationary, but devaluations of the currency, plus like 6 hyperinflations. So like the mismanagement in some of these countries, and when you look at them, like they're all like up there now. Zimbabwe again is up there. Lebanon is in full collapse. Like I don't know if you followed what is going on in Lebanon, but they have no power, they have no
I
food.
do
Like
not
people are
follow what's
starving,
going on with
dying.
Lebanon, even though I've got Lebanese cousins, but I did not follow what's
Yeah.
going on in Lebanon.
No, I tried to follow this because I'm a hyperinflationary, like I'm geek, so I follow a lot of these countries. Like Suriname's back up there again, collapsing. Like I remember back in the day, like this is hilarious. Me and Josh
Your
made a
internet
video on
connection
Suriname,
keeps
and there's nobody talking about
keep
Suriname.
letting on us. I was just saying that your internet
Yeah,
connection
probably don't like
is deflating on us. So there we go. There's our.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if one of the trial balloons that they sent up recently was to try to see if they can get a billionaire tax going, and luckily it seems like this thing just got killed. But obviously that was just like one trial balloon. I'm sure they'll be back. But it's not a tax because then it would be it's not a wealth tax, and that would be unconstitutional. That hasn't stopped them from before. But essentially what they want to do is and if it starts off at billionaires, obviously at a certain point it's going to affect everybody. But what they want to do is, let's say particular people who made money on Bitcoin, let's say you bought Bitcoin at $10 and now it's whatever it is now, like $62,000, and you made a crap load of money, and maybe you're sitting on millions of dollars of gains. What they're trying to say is, even though you haven't sold it, they want you to like basically mark to market and say that you've got to then basically claim your gain of 60 in this case like basically $62,000 per Bitcoin of gains. Now it's not only for Bitcoin, it's for anything. I'm just using that as an example. So if you had a stock that you bought for 30 cents and now it's $3,000, they want everyone to start paying their or at least the billionaires to start paying taxes on that, and they'd give them 5 years. And I believe the proposal, and it got shut down, but I think it's for people making over $100 million a year or with assets above $1 billion. And then until they either didn't make 100 million or had assets less than $1 billion, then they then they wouldn't have to pay that tax anymore. And the thing is, like, all of a sudden, if you're going to force the rich, like let's say you force Elon Musk to start selling Tesla, and he owns like, I don't know how much of it he owns, like probably 30-40% of Tesla, or probably somewhere between like 25 and 40% of Tesla he owns. I'm just guessing, obviously. And then all of a sudden he's then forced to pay a tax in that. Well, how is he going to pay the tax? He's going to have to sell his Tesla, which is then going to then tank those stocks, especially when you've got so many people, some of the richest people in the world who a lot of their wealth is highly concentrated in just some of their own businesses, like Jeff Bezos. And they're going to do things like set up different types of charitable trusts and things that I do specialize and help people in. So quick plug, for next year when they do jack up all the taxes, and we'll get to some of the taxes and where things are going for next year in America. But it's really going to even be more important that people utilize some of the services that we offer in terms of charitable trust planning, where you can literally give away your money, but it goes into your own charitable trust, then pays you and your family for the rest of your life. And then instead of going to your family upon your death, it then goes to the IRA, then goes to a charity. And so you can then literally from like beyond the grave get into a situation where you could fund causes to be against all the the government.
And also another strategy, I don't know how much of your people use this, but in Norway, it's I tried to set this up for my dad in Norway, and it's a whole life insurance policy that you have as a bank account, and as you retire, you pay no taxes because you borrow that money out of it that you saved up into it. And so like it actually is 0% taxable as you pull it out versus
the big thing with that is,
yeah.
I think the big thing with that is like what the underlying policy is allowed to invest in. So a lot of the whole life insurance are going to only be allowed to invest in, I'll say this in air quotes for those that's listening, safe assets like government bonds. And so if the government bonds go to shit, and then, or let's say they don't go to shit and they only are going up like 2-3% a year, but inflation is going up 20% a year. Then it's just a function of what that amount's going to buy you. So they do have some like IUL ones where you can do
the one that I have, actually, it's a lot of it is individual policy holders, so we pay an interest right on whatever we borrow out, and that actually gets a part into the pot, and that also pays dividends and so. But like it's just one tiny little thing that you could do. But
the other fly in the ointment with that is they also make money because, on one hand they're selling annuities, and the other hand they're selling life insurance, and so they're sort of like the opposite product. And so they know, if you take a large enough sample size of people, like approximately how long you're going to live, but they don't know how long you're going to live. And so, if you, die too soon, well then, then the life insurance kicks in, but then it also means that people are dying sooner, then they're not paying out on the annuities. And so it sort of like balances out. And, not a lot of people really kind of understand that relationship. And that's why some of the insurance companies are able to offer, things that other, like a mutual fund company or ETF, like wouldn't necessarily be able to have some of those guarantees just because of what they call the mortality risk. And now we're probably going to get to really boring stuff that we're talking about life insurance.
Nobody cares about how to save money for themselves.
In case you're not the life of the party talking about,
But anyways,
hyperinflation. Let's talk about whole life insurance. So what were you talking about with?
I just pulled out the picture here too as well, because in Norway you actually have to pay tax on your account. So if you have money into your bank account that you've sitting there stagnant, you actually pay a net wealth tax on everything that you actually hold in that bank account as well, if it's saved up. So like Norway is insane, as you can see. Spain and even Switzerland, the people don't know this, but Switzerland actually have the same type of thing, like a net wealth tax. And then in France and Italy, they have a wealth tax on selected assets that they pulled out, because you don't want the peasants to get in there and get too much access to the rich people's type of assets that they provide, because there's a big difference with what you invest in. And you deal with high net worth clients, so you can you actually see that a lot of them get access to things that the regular everyday peasant has no chance to ever touch. And it's
a lot of them made money through Bitcoin. So I mean, the average peasant does have the ability to buy that,
which is good.
But the average person thinks like, oh, it's too expensive. And guess what? 5 years from now, if it's like $400 or $500 million or $1 million, you're going to say, oh, I wish I bought it when it was 60,000. And not to say it's not going to be, a wild ride, and not, I did it so I could, help opt out of the system, and I thought the system was going to crash. And relative to Bitcoin, it has crashed. And so it wasn't, like the get rich quick scheme. So people that go in there with that, get rich quick scheme, attitude, they're probably gonna get devastated. But going back to this wealth tax, it's just, now wealth tax is unconstitutional, but they're, basically just, changing the words around using semantics. But well, it's not a tax, it's like a surcharge, or it's a, it's just whatever bullshit they can do.
Yeah, we're looking at unrealized capital gains. Like that is also insane, because I think that actually counts for within the year that you actually made something, and then suddenly it drops like 75% next year.
Well, then you get to bank those losses too, and so it's just absolutely insane. And luckily, that one does appear like it's dead for now. But there's a lot of other things on the table that aren't dead. I mean, so for next year, I mean, there's so many different things that they're trying to pull on us. They're having the corporate tax rate, which really, I mean, the average consumer is the one that pays the corporate tax rate. It's not really the the corporation. I mean, yeah, they're paying it, but they're passing on the cost to you. And so they want to raise that to 28%, but there's going to be this global minimum 15%, for like the real big companies.
Oh yeah, that's a part of something called base erosion and profit shifting. Me and Josh actually reported on this like 5 years ago. Like there was the OECD came out with the proposal to have a global tax collective, work together. And they actually got 100 signatories to that. Of course, last time I checked on the BEPS, it kind of fell apart. Like the BEPS 3.0.
This is like now like implemented.
Yeah, but this is BEPS. This is BEPS 3.0, I think they call it. Like they've been through a whole bunch of these.
We don't need to get in the weeds of it.
Yeah.
It's basically
anyways,
global tax around the world. But going back to America, they're going to raise the top income tax rate from 37% up to 39.6%. But then there's also going to be, like Medicare surcharges that they want to add on to there. So if you're, and then here's another big one. So if you, for high earners, or let's say you're the guy that has, $3, $4, $5 million of Bitcoin, and you want to sell $1 million of Bitcoin, and so which means your income would now be $1 million. They want to then have the taxes. So even for long-term capital gains, like right now you get a 20% rate, but there's really like an extra, like Obamacare surcharge is 3.8. So it's really like 23.8 now, but now they're going to make it your income tax rate, even if it's long-term, for above $1 million. And they're even like, they used to, like, let's say if you have a house and it increased a lot in value, but then you buy another house and you could kind of roll over that value and not pay taxes on it as long as it's going into another home, and that was called a 1031 exchange. Now they're trying to limit that to $500,000 for single individuals and $1 billion for individuals. There's other things too. Like, let's say I want to gift you Bitcoin. Traditionally the person that is making the gift, like, they're not the ones paying taxes on it. But now they're saying, like, let's say if I gift it to you, it's as if I sold it. Now I would be responsible for the taxes, even if I gave it to you, as long as you're not.
Hey, Tom Brady, you're gonna be in trouble now.
Yeah, so even if you're a charity, so technically wouldn't be in trouble now. He'd be in trouble next year if you were to do that. So, yes, that's one of the things they got going on. There's some other thing where if you're in a trust that hasn't had a recognition event in the past 90 years, then all of a sudden they're gonna have some sort of recognition of unrealized gains inside of there. If you're self-employed, there's some, and if your AGI exceeds $400,000, they want another 3.8% Medicare tax. And then they have different things too, where if you pass away, instead of having, like, let's say you bought a house for $50,000 and now it's $1 million, and you're out in maybe California. Well, now basically you've got to have the basis stay at $50,000 and not go to $1 million, but you're still, like, your gross estate is still getting taxed on the $1 million number, but then your kids inherit it at the $50,000 number. So there's all sorts of things from, like, an estate planning standpoint. Like, if you've got, like, a massive estate right now, like you're in, like, the $10 million and up range, or even that, I'd say even you start worrying if you're in, like, the $5 million and up range. No, it's more money, more problems, and good problems to have. But a lot of these people have people like me and people even smarter than me, and and they're not actually paying the tax. Like, nobody pays the estate tax because there's so many different ways to get around it, or they'd rather just donate money and not actually have to pay this. But it's, and everything they're doing is actually, like, going to drive, like next year 2022 is going to be, even if they don't do this stuff, it's going to be a massive year for me and my business. But because, like, everything they're doing is basically pushing crypto and Bitcoin to go way higher, but while also raising the taxes, which then leads right into the tax strategies that we're doing. And I've obviously been against every single one of these tax proposals, and have been trying to advocate. Everyone does the exact opposite, but you know what? I'm not gonna stand between me and myself trying to make some money off of this. If it's not like I have been telling people about Bitcoin for years now. So yeah,
No,
it's
but
just
the question is, though, Tim, are we all gonna want to end up like Scandinavia, like especially in Norway? Like, my mom makes let's see now, she makes $75,000. It might sound like a lot, but it's like not, like, it's probably the average salary in Norway, like maybe a little bit more. It's the
you guys
average
have
salary.
huge taxes over there too.
But she pays 51% income tax. 51%. My dad did that too. And that is one of the reasons why I moved to Canada. But now we have morons over here like Trudeau saying that, oh, we're gonna tax the gains on your main property, not even your second property. No, we're gonna come after your main property, because everybody has,
like while you're still in it, and just like do like a market.
No, not that crazy. But when you do sell it when you get older, right? Because they know there's so much pent up money there. Like, if you go, I've been looking at the charts, and most of the people in the middle, like lower middle class, and especially the poor, all the money is in housing almost. Like, that's where they have their retirement strategy basically, which is sad, but that's where it's at, and that's what they want to come after. Like, we're poor people.
Speaking of retirement strategy, obviously, this is just in jest, but I just saw right now, looking at CoinMarketCap, that Shiba Inu is now ahead of Dogecoin. And I think I've never have owned like any of these meme stocks. I've never tried jumping in front of any of these, momentum plays. But I did about 3 or 4 weeks ago, tried buying like a decent amount of Shibu, and the exchange wouldn't let me. I don't want to give plugs to these exchanges, but one of the exchanges, like, it said like bank account like denied, and I've never had that happen before. Like, I've never had that happen. Like, I've been doing this for years, never had that happen.
You've been flagged, buddy.
Then I ended up but it let me buy but later on, like the next day, let me buy like other stuff. And but then I ended up, long story short, I ended up not buying Shiba Inu, and I'm like, God, I'm like, well, not to use the Lord's name in vain, but I'm like, damn it, like, I could have been up like hundreds of percent on this, and I probably would have, you know, sold out now.
Yeah.
But you know, it's not like life-changing money, and it's just you know, having fun throwing something at this. But it's I've
Oh yeah.
never actually done one of these, you know, trying to chase these momentum plays. But it sucks that I was like, damn it, I tried getting in on it, and Sam Tripoli actually went really big on Shibu and talked about it on his show. I think he put like 25 grand into it like a month
Oh,
ago.
so he
So
should be in pretty good shape.
now he said that on his show, Cash Day. He's not like giving away any like proprietary, like secret
Yeah.
information. And shout out to Sam. It was his birthday the other day, so happy birthday to Mr. Sam Tripoli of Tinfoil Hat and Cash Jetties and Zero and lots of other great podcasts. But yeah, I just saw right now that Shiba Inu just passed Dogecoin. So you've got a meme coin of a meme coin that now yes,
That
that's
is really funny, actually. You gotta love the kids, you know. Like this is a lot to do with the younger population, you know, and what they believe in, and of course Doge has been
it's
like their
40
go-to.
billion. It's $40 billion right now.
Yeah,
Market
I
cap.
have my sister, her boyfriend is a top like gamer, and he's like training. He's the coach for one of the biggest like gaming teams in the world, and he had a lot of Dogecoin because that's what these kids that are in, you know, that world that are younger, you know, that's what they're all into. Like they're all into this stuff, and he was all over like the meme stocks and all that stuff too. Like these kids are talking, and it goes pretty fast, like the message, because everybody's online, you know. And when you talk about anybody under 25 to like 18 these days, you know, everybody is online doing stuff, and the message get across very fast. My brother, he knows everything that I know about, you know, when it comes to conspiracies, because these people are talking, you know, they're aware of stuff that is happening. It might not look like it, but I think they're aware of a lot more than we think.
Yeah, I just saw that apparently one called Shibazilla is just got added to
Oh
CoinMarketCap
no.
because at today, and so it doesn't even have a 24-hour trading, and it's already
And
traded a volume of like $6 million after not
I
even
think
one day.
didn't Shiba Inu, like to get it any legitimacy, like didn't they gift like half of it to what's his face there, to Vitalik? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I gotta laugh. Like it's funny though. Like you gotta have a lot of fun with this, because it's like, and Wall Street hates this kind of stuff like going on, right? Because this is just totally against their control grid that they want, and having, you know, especially like just meme coins being 9 and 10. It's kind of like it really amuses me, you know, like to see that the kids are fighting back, you know, against these scumbags on Wall Street. And I think a lot of them are aware a lot more than we think, and I think there is some bright sides to it, you know, for the future here. But we'll see though. Like it's gonna be an interesting time, you know, over the next 20, I don't know, 10 years, you know, just 5 years even. It's gonna be like extremely interesting times to see what
speaking of
is
what the
gonna be
kids are,
going on
speaking of what the
with
kids
the
are in,
economy,
and
because I think we're
yeah, speaking of what the kids are in, I mean, just take a look at the iTunes top 10 charts. Number one, Let's Go Brandon, featuring Tyson James and Chandler.
number two.
Number two, another version, the Let's Go Brandon extended version with Loza Alexander. Then Adele got moved to number three. And then you go down to number seven, another Let's Go Brandon remix version of it. And then you go down to number nine, another Let's Go Brandon. So you got 4 out of the top 10 songs on iTunes are different variations of Let's Go Brandon.
Oh God, that is the best. You gotta love this.
When you take, you know, the pop culture and the fun aspect of it, now you apply it to the politics. Like these guys, like it's very effective and useful to use, you know, humor and comedy, like trying to convey your message. And so this has got to be something that's going to be like probably freaking out the power structure. And you've got 4 out of the top 10 iTunes songs are Let's Go Brandon, or basically talking like fucking the president. And so and they should actually just, you know, change it to like the president, because it doesn't really matter. Okay, wow, Trump, you know, he's such a savior. You know, thank you for giving us, you know, Operation Warp Speed, and for giving us like all these scumbag, you know, generals that you put in there, and all these other people that ended up turning their backs on him too. You know, all these globalist traders. And so, you know what, I've got no love for any one of these presidents, but, you know, I do think it, you know, but I'm all about the Let's Go Brandon, and think that that's absolutely hilarious. But yeah, so I don't know. Was there any other stories that you wanted to cover? I know that we've been, went through, quite a bit today, and
Well, I know we got Lord Fauci, in trouble again because of certain leaks that have happened, and I was gonna look at one of them, like
that's gonna be my Halloween costume. I was Bill Gates last year. I'm gonna be Fauci this year. I wanted to be Santa Claus Schwab and tell everyone they're going to get nothing and they're going to love it. But I feel like not enough people would. I feel like
no, you gotta say more actually there, Tim. You're gonna get nothing because of supply chain issues, and you'll be happy. Gotta add that economic geek.
Yeah, I did see a meme too where it was like this year's Black Friday shopping specials, and it was showing like people like waiting in the water like off the ports of LA, for the ships coming in. And so like that's where the Black Friday was going to happen.
Right on the port. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a real black market Friday.
I can't believe they haven't even gotten rid of Black Friday. They haven't called that racist or tried to appropriate that yet. So and with all this online stuff, I mean, people should be ordering their gifts now if they're trying to get some gifts, because I'm usually like a December 24th type of guy when it comes to Christmas shopping. But I think this year, I've already gotten some stuff for my kids because I know I don't want to chance it to the very end this year.
Oh yeah. Since we're talking about Fauci, and I want to mention this, but Fauci is called Lord of the Flies now. And here's Fauci. Fauci's, got attacked by the flies that very much he thought he wasn't in control of. And it's kind of like, it's a show of how the peasants, coming back to take him out. But the flies that he was using for torture is now standing up against Fauci and coming after him.
If you go to right now, I'm on the top rap and hip hop songs. 1 through 5 are all different remixes of "Let's Go Brandon," and for "Way Too Sexy" by Drake is like number 7, and some other song I've never heard, like Little Nas and Jack Harlow. No idea who these guys are, but they're number 6. And then they got beat out by "Let's Go Brandon" remixes 1 through 5.
That is unbelievable.
Absolutely amazing. Like I think that Little Nas actually, isn't he the guy that was trying to have like his Satan shoes and like causing some stir? And I think he was like trying to act like he was pregnant, like an album cover. So of course that guy's getting promoted. But luckily we've now have culture jammed to the point where "Let's Go Brandon" is 1 through 7. But
well, it just kind of shows you what the people think, anyways. It's I don't think the election was pretty accurate.
Yeah, the selection. But anyways, I really do appreciate everyone for joining in another Tim and John show. Make sure you go to timandjohnshow.com, subscribe to our email list, because we are getting a lot better about putting these out through email. If you are still on YouTube, we're 10 likes away from getting the big 3,000. And that would be at the Tim Picciott with the LibertyAdvisor. Not that I really care about Facebook, I really don't care about Facebook. I got off there with over 30,000 followers, but we're almost at 3,000 on YouTube, which would just be cool to kind of hit that milestone before I really do something to piss them off and they delete the channel. But I'm sure we're probably already like above 3,000. Like we were at 28,880 or 28. What was it? No, 2980 literally for like 5 months. And then after like bitching about it and talking about it a lot, apparently 10 of you have subscribed, but it's probably way more than that. Like it's like freaking frozen at that exact number. Like
for sure. Number. Like it just shows you. I just uploaded my first video. Like I'm starting to do videos myself too, and I uploaded my first video, got 46 views from the first video that we ever upload, and 3 subscribers already. So. Here we go. Like, and it was Odyssey. I don't care about YouTube at all. And that we don't really care about YouTube, but it's fun. Like we got to get over that 3,000.
Yeah, and then also we've got crypto IRAs where right now if you want to get on the wait list for that, we do have basically the ability to get actual crypto into your IRA. And we can do so in a scalable format where I can basically kind of lower some of my limits in order to be able to do that. So anyways, you can go to LibertyAdvisor.com for all that, where you can also use that site to then get over to the main site as well, the timandjohnshow.com. But anyways, thank you guys so much. Hope you guys have a great weekend. I hope you had a great Halloween, you know, depending on when you guys see this. Talk to you guys later. Take care.
Bye.
Let's go Brandon, hey, hey, let's go Brandon, hey, hey, let's go Brandon. I keep it drawn like I'm Nick Cannon, hey, hey, let's go Brandon. Pandemic ain't real, they just planned it, hey, hey, let's go Brandon. You ask questions, they start banning, hey, hey, let's go Brandon, hey, let's go Brandon, hey, hey. Biden said the jab stopped the spread, it was lies. I remember how you roll, but you haven't opened your eyes. These politicians are demons just in disguise. Look at Kyrie Irving and Nicki Minaj. Look at Australia, that's what's coming next if we don't stand up. Stop complying with them, taking our rights, it's time to man up.